Hi there, Serdar Yegulalp here for InfoWorld. In this episode of Dev with Serdar, we're going to take a look at Rust's trait system. Traits in Rust let us define methods or behaviors for groups of types that aren't necessarily otherwise related. So if you have several types that are different under the hood, but they could do some of the same things, then you can create a common trait for those types and define how those behaviors work. Let's start with a basic example. This is one that I've adapted with a little bit of modification from the Book of Rust. I'm going to create a trait called excerptable, which is a trait that I use to generate excerpts or abbreviated versions of text from a number of different data types with text in them. The first version of the excerptable trait, it doesn't do very much. It just implements one method, excerpt, and all that does is return the string read more. It's basically a placeholder. So if I have some type that implements excerptable with no changes, I will get this as the default behavior. Now let's create a type for which I want to have a customized behavior. I'm going to call this type blog post. So to change the behavior for that type, I use the impl keyword, short for implement, to indicate how I want excerptable behaviors to be created for this type. So for the excerpt method that's going to be on blog post, I'm going to return what amounts to a digest version of the blog post. There's going to be the title, the URL, and the first 100 characters of the text, assuming there is any. Now I've got a second data type here, shoutout. This is my toy implementation of a post on a social network with highly abbreviated texts. And likewise, I have an implementation of excerptable for shoutout. Shoutouts are, as you can guess, much shorter messages. So for the excerpts, I can include the username, the full contents of the message, and the URL, all as my so-called excerpt. Another thing I can do, and this is where things get much more useful, is I can write functions or methods that take in any type that implements a given trait. And I've done that here with this function sum, this is short for summary. What it does is it takes in any type that implements excerptable, and then allows you to use that type's excerpt method in the body of the function. So if I try to pass in something that doesn't implement that method, if I try to pass in a method that's not available through excerptable, the compiler will flag it as a problem. Now down here at the bottom, I'm putting all of this to work. I've created instances of both of these types, and I'm calling the sum function to display their contents. Each time we call sum, the appropriate excerpt method runs for the type and prints the results to the console. So let's run this code. And as you can see, we have a different excerpt type for the text of our blog post than we do for the text of our social media post. But they've both been summoned, so to speak, by way of the same named functions. So the nomenclature for how we work with these is similar. And that makes things a little easier. So to sum up, traits in Rust let us define groups of methods that can be implemented for different types. And through that, we can create generic behaviors. We can take a group of behaviors, create a common label for them through a trait, implement those behaviors for different types, and allow functions to accept anything that implements those behaviors. So the upshot is that you can organize your Rust programs around these behaviors rather than around the data types themselves. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to the InfoWorld channel on YouTube. And for more Dev with Serdar, be sure to follow me on Facebook, YouTube, and Infoworld.com.